So now let's implement random color matrix, and this should be a part of a color extension. So let's go to our extensions folder, press Command N. Let's create a new Swift file, and I'm going to call this color extensions. So color extensions. Great. And now let's create an extension of color. And let's import Swift UI. And now I want us to have a bunch of colors and names. So let's define a dictionary, static color to name. And this will be a dictionary going from color to string. And let's say we have teal with teal, red with red, etc. And now I would like some main color names. So let's say static var. Main color names will be an array of type string. And I'm just going to grab the values of color to name. So let's take color to name dot values. Now this won't be of type array, so we'll convert it. We'll apply array to this, and we're good to go. Great, and now we can finally create our function. So static func, let's call this random color matrix, and this will accept some rows and some integers, and some columns, excuse me, both of type integer, and will return an array of strings. So let's do the following. We don't even need a return statement since this is a one-line function. So let's say 0 all the way up to rows times columns dot map. And I'm not really going to be using the values, so we can enter an underscore here. Main color names dot random element. And I had an uppercase columns over here, so let's make it lowercase. And this is optional, so let's use nil coalescing. And I'm going to nil coalesce with clear. And that's it. That's a random matrix, random color matrix. And now let's use it within our view. So I'm going to go back to the main view. And over here, we wanted to create a random color array. So we could say color dot random color matrix using new row and new column. Okay, great. And now we still have to take care of the initializer over here. Okay, but we had this color random matrix. We also had an onAppear, so onAppear, and this actually, we don't really need to initialize color array at all. So earlier I created two state variables, and it seems like they won't be necessary because we're going to just be using current mesh model. This was a mistake on my part. I had some state variables that I realized later were not really in use. So let's go to our mesh model and create a new initializer. So we already had an initializer. So I pressed Control-6, and we see a couple of initializers, and I want to look at the initializer of the mesh model. So we have this initializer, which accepts a name, a row, a column, background color, smooth colors, color space is device, and color point pairs. So I want to create another initializer, but it doesn't take color point pairs. So let's duplicate that initializer. Let's remove the color point pairs, and instead I want to have a color array as input. So this will be an array of type string, and I want to have points, which will be an array of simd2 float. And now using these values, we need to initialize our color point pairs. So what I'm going to do down here, let's separate this. And for now, let's just let this be an empty dictionary. And just for safety, let's let n be the minimal value between color array.count and points.count. They should be the same value, otherwise this might cause issues. I'm expecting these to be the same values, but just to be on the safe side, I'm taking the minimal value. And now we can say for I in 0 up to n, color point pairs, append. So we want to append a color point pair. I can just enter init. And we could use this option right here. Let's press Control M. So for the color name, I'm going to use color array I. For the point, I'm going to use points I. And the sort index will be the order that we're appending, so just I. Great, so we have our initializer. We have our new initializer. So we can now go back to the main view and use this initializer. Okay, so let's scroll down. Okay, so I don't want to use this initializer, I want to use a different one. So let's say current mesh model equals to mesh model, and I want the color array points. Let's press Control M. And just like before, we have a name, a row, and a column. I don't want this default value. And we have our color array. So I'm going to paste it in here. And we have our points, which we haven't really implemented yet. So I can get rid of this part over here. I can get rid of the to-do on the random color matrix. And we still have a to-do for these points, so we'll add an extension to simd2 in the next lecture to create some default points. Great, so have an amazing day and see you next time.